I just passed 100,000 subscribers at the beginning of 2021, and I am completely blown away. I tried running 10,000 Kubernetes pods when I reached 10,000 subscribers, and you can see the video I made for that in the card above me. Similarly, I tried getting 50,000 Kubernetes jobs running when I hit 50,000 subscribers. But for 100,000, I figured I'd do a how it's made video to give you a peek behind the scenes. All my videos start as an idea on a Trello board. If the idea seems good, I'll fill in an outline, teasing it out until I have a full script. I write my scripts in plain text using my code editor, Sublime Text 2, because there's nothing more distracting for me when writing than having a full WYSIWYG editor. I test out and document anything that's relevant to the script, like how fast an SSD runs or how hot something gets. This process is usually the longest part. Sometimes it's a day or two, but more often it's a week or two, and every once in a while, like with my upcoming video on GPUs on the Raspberry Pi, it's months of drawn-out testing that results in a 10-minute video. I do a final read-through out loud to try to make my script sound more natural, then I put it on a little teleprompter app on my iPhone, which I can remote control from my iPad on my desk. Some people balk at teleprompters, but people who can crank out unscripted vlogs that are actually entertaining to watch have a gift. I don't, so I use a teleprompter. My main recording gear hasn't changed for a couple years, but I've added in a few pieces of equipment to make it easier for me to control my own recordings. The 5 things I rely on day in and day out are my little Sony mirrorless a6000 camera with a Sigma 30mm f1.4 lens, an Elgato Camlink 4K, an EV RE320 microphone, a Behringer Euphoria USB audio interface, and a Glidegear TMP75 teleprompter. I could record every one of my videos with just this gear, and I actually did earlier in 2020. But once I decided to focus on this YouTube channel in November last year, I added a couple things that really sped up my workflow. Originally, I was going straight from the Sony a6000 into my Mac, but in May 2020, I saw a video on the Explaining Computers YouTube channel where he talked about his behind-the-scenes setup, and he used an external monitor and recorder. And so I bought this Blackmagic Video Assist 3G, which is great because it gives me a really sharp, clear picture for what's being recorded on the camera, and it lets me record and stop recordings remotely, so I can do everything standing here instead of walking around and going to my camera. The other nice thing about it is that it has this pass-through so that I don't have to disconnect everything and reconnect it when I want to do live streaming. Originally, I had this EV RE320 microphone plugged directly into my Mac through a Behringer Euphoria audio interface, but the sound level wasn't that great, so I bought this Cathedral Pipes Durham, which is a mic preamp that uses external power, and that was giving me a pretty good signal, but there were still some problems. When I went to edit the videos in Final Cut Pro, I had to spend a lot of time with the noise gate and tweaking levels manually to try to clip out my breaths and try to get control of sibilance and things like that. So I got for free from a radio station this Symmetrix voice processor, the 528E. They don't actually sell it anymore, but this is nice because now I plug the microphone into here, and this is kind of like a professional voice processing preamp. You can see that the noise gate is configured using these knobs, and there's a compressor. So if I wanted to, I could sound a little bit like Howard Stern, but I don't really want to do that, so the compressor's mostly turned down. But the noise gate helps me control my breathing noises, and it has a de-esser built in, but I'm not really using that. And you can control EQ if you want. I'm not using that right now either. But this lets me have a lot more control over the sound that comes out of my microphone and saves me a lot of time in editing. That still goes into the Euphoria preamp, and it's just passing the audio into my Mac and into the Blackmagic Video Assist. My recording and editing workflows are so much better now. But if you've never done video work before, you might be surprised to learn that I still spend at least 2 hours shooting and editing per minute of video that actually makes it into one of these videos. The other important thing I have to worry about for my recordings is the recording space around me. I've been working in this little home office since 2014 when I built it for remote work. I actually posted the office build to the DIY subreddit then, and there's a link to the build album in the video's description. When I built this place, I had no idea I'd be recording videos in here. If I did, there are a lot of things I'd do different. There are 2 big problems with this space. It's directly under the kids' schoolroom, and I didn't do any special treatment to the ceiling, so anything they do up there, I can hear down here. With COVID, it's been extremely difficult to find time to record, so I often record at night after the kids have gone to bed. If you ever see a bit of a tired expression on my face, you know why. The other problem with this office is I basically built a cube. Sound loves to reflect off hard surfaces, and if you build a cube with 4 solid walls, you end up with a lot of reverberation that can sound a bit annoying. That's why I have these gray panels on the walls. These are Owens Corning 703 acoustical panels. I used to have these darker panels with cheaper acoustic foam, but they don't provide as much of a damping effect on the reverb as I liked. Plus, these acoustic panels behind me were free from the same radio station where I got the voice processor, and you don't argue with free. They don't make a huge difference on their own, but if you want professional sounding audio, every little bit counts. With all the equipment ready, I hit record and start working through the script. I try to stay relaxed since I'm a pretty hardcore introvert. One way I relax is by joking with myself on camera when I do a bad take. Some of those jokes make it into the bloopers at the end of my videos, and since you like to see them, I'll keep adding them in. Once I'm finished recording, I pop the SD card from the Blackmagic into my pro-grade card reader and import everything into Final Cut Pro. I use Sony Tough Series UHS 2 cards since they give me 300 megabytes per second transfer rates and are built a little bit more rugged than the cheaper cards. Before I get to the first edit, I sync a separate audio recording to my video track. I always record 2 audio tracks, one on the Blackmagic and a separate one direct on my Mac using Sound Studio. I usually use the audio from Sound Studio because the Blackmagic recordings often have a slightly distracting background noise in them. But that adds one annoying wrinkle to my workflow. For any recordings that are more than about 5 minutes long, the sync is a few frames off at the end, so I have to go into the synchronized footage and nudge the audio track back to keep my lips in sync with the sound. Once the footage is imported, it's time for a rough edit. Usually I don't have much B-roll yet. That's all the little video and picture inserts you see during a video. So I cut out all the gaps and bad takes from my scripted recording portion, and I clip any bloopers that might be funny and save them for later. This gives me a general idea for the final length of the video, and I run through it making notes in a pickup shot list for timestamps and the types of pickup shots I'll need. A pickup is a small clip recorded after primary filming to help boost the footage I've already shot. Most of my videos have pickups like product dolly shots, still photographs, overhead video shots, or screen recordings. Once I have my list, I organize it by shot type, then I usually head over to my little side desk and work on the pickups. The most important thing I have is this piece of white poster board. I think it was like 42 cents at Walmart, something along those lines. This gives me a seamless backdrop, and when the camera looks at it, all you see is pure white behind whatever products or things that I'm shooting. So I use this for photography and video, and with it, it's important to have as good of lighting as you can. Right now I'm using this $24 strip light that I got. It has a magnet in it, so I can stick it on here. But at some point I'll probably try to get better lighting for this little setup so that it's a little more even without going so far as to buy a light tent or something. Anyways, the other cool thing is my wife just bought me this for my birthday. It's a slider. So I used to use this, which is also a slider, but it's not a very good one and it would be very bumpy. You can see in some of my earlier videos when I do slides, it's a little bit shaky. But this slider has damping and has some hydraulics in it or something. It's super smooth and I can control it just with my hand at whatever speed I want. So I can go super slow or fast and get some really pretty product shots. So you'll be seeing some of those in upcoming videos. Other than that, it's also important to have some good tripods. So over the years, I've accumulated tripods. This is my original tripod I bought maybe 20 years ago or something. It's a Manfrotto. I bought the legs, I bought the ball head. It's all super solid. I also have bought and used tripods. Well, this is a clamp mount over the years. This one is a little cheaper. You can hear it's not quite as nice, but it clamps on the desk and puts a camera up here. The only problem with this kind of setup is it's attached to the desk, so whenever I touch the desk or do anything, it starts moving the camera, and that's not great. This is one area of my office that has changed quite a bit just to make it easier for me to do all the product shots and things that I need to do. You can see I have all my little parts over here. I have little accessories for doing shots. I always have a Raspberry Pi sitting over here, so if I need to compare a Raspberry Pi to something, I can just set it down. Yeah, so this is where I do all my pickup shots. I record any screen recordings I need with iShowU Instant on my Mac, and then I dump all my footage into Final Cut Pro. Sometimes there's a special type of shot that I have to collaborate on with a friend. Sometimes a video calls for a Red Shirt Jeff appearance, so I head over to the workshop to see what he's up to and whether he might have something to contribute. How about you give me a little break and head over to the workshop and see what he's up to right now? So that's what our collaboration usually looks like, but I also have to tell him not to burn down the house sometimes. Wait, what? No, Red Shirt Jeff, that's not ready for Dremel. Sorry about that. Now, where were we? Oh, for some of Red Shirt Jeff's recordings, I'll let him use an older Canon Vixia camcorder, my iPhone, or my GoPro, and he puts it on my cheap secondary tripod. It's easier than always tearing down my main shooting setup, the A6000 and the teleprompter on top of my really nice tripod legs. Now it's a matter of inserting each clip where the pickup list says it goes. I try to cover up any cuts in my rough edit because I hate jump cuts. They really distract me when I'm viewing other YouTube videos, so I avoid them as much as possible. After the final edit, I watch the entire video full screen and make sure I didn't do something silly like leave in a placeholder graphic or forget to put in a title. Once I'm happy, I trim down the bloopers until I have around 30 seconds worth and add in the thank you portion of the video. While I'm exporting the video, I pop open a metadata file and work on writing a catchy title, a thorough description, the table of contents, some tags, and any cards I want to put into YouTube. The last step is creating a thumbnail. Some thumbnails are pretty low effort, while other ones take a few hours to make. The thumbnail has a huge impact on click-through rates and how much YouTube will recommend your video to non-subscribers. I usually take a few pictures of myself, maybe holding the device I'm talking about. I pull that into Photoshop, I add a few words on top with a 10-pixel black outline on the text in my signature style for my thumbnails, and then I save it. Finally, dear viewer, we have a new YouTube video. And it seems like the popularity of the video is inversely proportional to the number of hours I put into it. That's not always true, but it surprises me sometimes how a video I'll crank out on a whim at the end of a week sometimes gets 10 times more impressions and watch time than a well-researched video that took me 3 or 4 weeks. So there you have it, a complete how it's made and partial office tour of the Jeff Geerling video production headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. There's only one more thing left to do. I have a box down here I've been meaning to open. And it is the YouTube silver play button, which is given for passing 100,000 subscribers. So thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed to this channel. This is way more subscribers I ever thought would be possible to get doing educational content on computers and Raspberry Pis and Kubernetes. So it is going to go up on my wall in a place of honor. And until next time, I'm Jeff Geerling. And see what he's doing right now. You're going to need to go a lot faster. But in May 2020, I saw a video on the Explaining Computers, I was about to say TV channel, USB audio interface, and a and I clip any bloopers that might be funny, and my throat is gone. I'm going to hang this up on my wall right next to my Danger Men Computing shirt. That's not a shirt.